as well, including the bill that sought to regulate social media, which was eventually thrown out. The Senate in the last 4 years had suspended 2 of its members, reshuffled the leadership of its standing committees twice. However, the invasion and snatching away of the Senate maize in April 2018 by unknown persons was a turning point in the life of the 8th Senate. While the House of Representatives reshuffled its standing committees once and suspended 1 of its members. However, the 8th National Assembly has faced a number of criticisms, ranging from the call by some Nigerians to cut their pay package and their inability to commence full implementation of the e-Parliament as contained in its legislative agenda. With 1 month to the end of this assembly, the question now is, will the 9th Assembly draw from the happenings in the outgoing assembly to build on a robust legislative assembly come June 2019? Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
All right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's introduce our guest to you. We'd like to welcome to this program Senator Ita Enang, is Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Senate. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let me also welcome to this program Senator Abubakar Sodangi, is a lawyer, politician, farmer, administrator, and a former legislator. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Sirius, thank you for having me, and good evening, viewers.
Okay. And I would like to also welcome tonight Awal Musa Rafsanjani. He is Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, and good evening, Nigerians.
And let me also welcome to this program Dr. Abiodun Adeni, Senior Lecturer, Mass Communication, Bayes University, Abuja. Thanks for being here, Dr. Adeni.
Thanks for having me on. Good evening, viewers.
Right, and as we always do, we acquaint you with the procedure of the program just before we set out. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. You can take advantage of them. And as we say every Tuesday, do us a favor when your call gets through to the studio, turn down the volume of your TV set. Just reduce the volume. That's the way to avoid a hurlback or the echo. Just turn down the volume. And then the best way to know that your call has been passed through to the studio is you'll see your name appear on screen. Once your name appears on screen, it means that your call is through direct to the studio. So just go right ahead with your question or comment. Don't bother too much about the greetings. Just go straight to the point. Keep it short, straight to the point. And this will afford others the opportunity to also get on the platform. So once again, welcome to NTA Tuesday Live. We're reviewing the 8th National Assembly and looking at what lessons to learn as we expect the 9th Assembly. So let's begin with Senator Ita Enang. And say, how would you describe the role of the legislature in this democracy that we've had in just about 20 years now? On a broad note.
The legislature has been the check, and the executive had been the balance.
Right, you have been in the legislature yourself. Now you're on the other side.
Yes.
So you should be in a position to tell us what it's like.
The executive had been, the legislature had been the check on the executive. The executive had balanced what it ought to be. And in the last 4 years, there's been a situation where President Buhari deserves the highest commendation. Why? Because in no other administration since 1999 has there been the kind of engagements that the legislature has given to the executive and the kind of resilience that the executive has had in containing and working with the legislature. And this will be so more so when you consider that at the inception, the Deputy President of the Senate was of the PDP. The President of the Senate and the Speaker were of the APC. And so there was like a coalition government at the level of the Senate. And in the course of it,
that was by default.
Yeah,
it was not. Yes, it was not. It was not expected.
It was not expected, but it happened, and yet there was not. And yet it became. It was still government. Now, again, we also had a situation where later there was so much heat that as if it were the kind of hit that the lady in the labor room went through, and there was delivery. And what was delivered was a situation where the head of the legislature, the Senate President, then the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the presiding officers of the two chambers defected to the minority party. And while the executive is controlled by the majority party, APC. And then, yet, governance was running, bills were being considered, bills were being passed, measures were going through, sometimes with a lot of political difficulty, yet governance was going on. Therefore, it was a situation where the executive made the best out of the situation, where political evolution has left the Nigerian democracy.
All right, we'll return to you, but let's go on to Senator Sodangi. Well, the legislature is key to this arrangement. How would you assess its role so far, and particularly in the last 4 years?
Thank you very much, Siri and viewers. Like the last speaker, my friend and colleague, Senator Enang, have said, it has been a very frosty or misgrill kind of relationship between the legislator and the executive, which ought not to be the case at all. Because the legislators, like he said, they check the executive, and the balance is the executive itself balancing the act of governance. But where you have a friction or lack of understanding between these two arms of government, it certainly is not going to augur well to the democracy, and we have seen it. Yes, I agree. I concede to the fact that many bills were passed, and it's to the credit of the 8 members of the National Assembly. And the Senate, in particular, they have done their best. I was there. I know it is not an easy to pass the bill, either a private bill or executive bill. But they started getting it wrong from the election of the leadership, like you have said. And emphasis must be made that it has never happened in any democracy where you have the majority and then they ought to have picked a member from within that majority. Of course, Bukola Saraki, the Senate President, was from APC, and he defected, like he said. It was a kind of marriage of convenience. Give us your numbers, we give you your numbers. And that did not augur well. So many things could have been achieved if there had been a good rapport between the executive and the legislators. And what do I mean? For instance, yes, we can give credit to the National Assembly, Senate in particular. No minister will be appointed, and he must be screened by the Senate. They did that. Senator can confirm that. The ambassadors, whatever. But there are key areas where there could have been a very cordial relationship in building of the economy, the good governance, which Mr. President himself came with. For instance, Magu was never confirmed, and after now he's not confirmed. That did not go well to the fight against corruption, which is one of the key areas President Muhammadu Buhari said he's going to key in his good governance. And up to now, you ask him, why? Because there was a lack of understanding between the legislators, Senate in particular, and the executive. And this is not a good one. Again, if, like I said, at the end of the day, what happened? They left. It has never happened. During our time, if you go back to the memory line, we go by the party supremacy. Party, of course, when we came on board, there was a good rapport, tea, whatever, with Mr. President. We were asked, please, this is the person you are going to elect. We elected Evans Oweren because the party, then, I was a PDP mandate, but I ran away because of the problem they had. We elected.
Now in the
APC,
thank you very much.
course,
I just wanted that
very well. We elected Evans Oweren, but because people were dissatisfied among ourselves. There were some people who never wanted to go with the presidency or the party at that time. They say it must be Chuba Kadibo. Chuba Kadibo, of blessed memory, both of them are gone now, who was elected, and within 8 months, he was also removed. And it went to there was a semblance of stability because the Senate president was zoned to the southeast. And let me say one thing, one fundamental thing, Mr. Cyril and the viewers. In every democracy, the majority will have their day, minority will have their say. It is never the kind of misgrilling or whatever mixture we saw. And let me say, who among these elected senators or House of Representatives came through an independent party? You came through your party, through the manifesto they advocated to the world. This is what we're going to do. And when you come, it is that majority that will now say, this is our leaders. Because what Mr. President wants to do will go in tandem with the support he gets from the legislature. Not the kind of thing we saw and which we hope it will not repeat itself. If I may stop here.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you so much. And, well, the politicians in the House have spoken.
Yes.
So now let's go to the others who are not politicians, beginning with Awal Musa Rafsanjani, civil society. Let's hear you about what you think the 8th Assembly in particular, and of course the legislature in general, has been able to perform its role in this democracy.
Well, ideally, I would have looked at the key, performance indicator of the legislature, which is driven from the constitutional responsibility, which is lawmaking, oversight, representation, and constituency accountability. These are the 4, areas that I would have, judged them. But, looking at the first, problem, which has to do with the internal, policies of the ruling party, that, they were not able to put their head, in order, led to the emergence of what they saw, having Senate President from the ruling party, and then Deputy Senate President from the minority party, PDP in this case. And if they had been able to do what they have done from 1999 up to 2011, right?
Yes,
2011. Probably we will not have seen that kind of rebellion thing, from the party members. But I think, the desperation of some party members from outside to even control the legislature, without recourse to the fact that these are elected people who are supposed to actually, elect among themselves, of course, in consultation with their parties, led to the, the fracas, the misgiving that led to this sin. So, but having said that, in my opinion, really, despite that problems, when you look at the achievement, that the 8th Assembly has done in terms of the passage of some key important bills, even as of just this week, the PIGB, has also, the other component has also been passed, You cannot actually dismiss the fact that they had actually tried, their best, despite the fact that these internal factors that created unnecessary artificial quarreling between the legislature and the executive. And let me also say that some of the problems also arose from the fact that there were some new legislators who did not understand the legislative rudiment, the legislative work. So they wanted to do the work of the executive. At the same time, you also have some people within the executive that they wanted to look down on the legislature. So if you don't balance the scene, you're going to have tension. I'm happy that the 2 of them, they are all legislators, and since 1999, I know them. We've worked with Senator Sedengi from the first time when he was in the National Assembly, likewise too, Senator Itan. So they know that some of those factors that led to the crisis we had, it was simply because some people were determined not to also allow the National Assembly to do their work, But despite that, I think, at a point we were able to succeed, in getting that, because issues of national interest minus some of the issues which we have been talking about. He had mentioned the non-confirmation of some key appointment, particularly the anti-corruption one, which we thought, given the mantra of the government, the party itself that talks about anti-corruption, they should be given speedy consideration. But there was internal sabotage within the executive. Another arm of government was writing to the National Assembly not to confirm. And then another arm of government, executive arm, is saying, please confirm. So there was no harmony within the executive, as we have seen, from the report of DSS and what have you. So no matter how much you also accuse the National Assembly, within the executive itself, they didn't put their head in order. But thank God, when he came, he tried to, he always tried to make sure that he did not haunt his friends and his colleague, because he has to balance the scene, because his part of his job is to do this damage control. And I think he has done, greatly, well. And the House of Representatives, you can see from 1,530 something bills, they come up with over 1,300 bills. That to tell you they were actually passionate, they are interested. However, we know there were some capacity gaps in the way they do their thing, and that is why we think it is important that we continue to provide necessary skill and capacity for the incoming National Assembly to be able to do their work. Legislative work takes time to actually master it and do it very well if you really want to be a good legislator. I'm sure they will attest to that.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. Let's come to Dr. Adeni and put the same question to you. Look at the 8th Assembly.
Yeah, very well, Cyril. Ordinarily, we know what the legislature is in a presidential democracy. We know that it's an important part of the Trinity. And its responsibility is primarily to make laws, and apart from making laws, to expand thoughts around subject matters, around policy directions and proposals from the executive members, from the executive arm, or from private members or stakeholders interested in contributing to the making of laws. But with respect to the 8th Assembly, would we say that they have been above board in the performance of these responsibilities? Well, I would say that there has been too much of politics, too much of pandering to interest groups, too much of self-aggrandizement. It might not be in the material sense, but in terms of the propensity to grab power, to wield influence above statecraft, above governance. And it is the reason why we will say that they have failed in certain respects. The reason why we will say that there are still some things that are still associated with them. Things like budget padding, things like irregular budget cycle, and the failure of the average legislature to show distinctive example. Oftentimes we say that the legislature is a representative of the people, that they emanate from the people, that whatever wrong is noticed in the society is evidence in the kind of legislator we have. No doubt about it. But as legislators, they're supposed to be leaders. They're supposed to rise above some of the belief system, some of the perverted belief systems of the people, and show good example as leaders. In this 8th Assembly, I'm afraid we cannot identify anyone with such distinction, anyone that has shown that markedly good example that will propel us to the level that we want to be at the level of a nation. What we have seen, what we saw in the 8th Assembly is just a routinous thing, a continuation of the old, of the problems we have seen in this country, whereby leaders just succeed themselves and continue with the character of the past. No one of them, I'm afraid, I will say, showed that real distinction. And there are so many reasons for which we can say this has happened. One could be that, relatively they're a crowd. And when they have that kind of crowd, you could say it's mostly hide under anonymity. Okay? Which of them are you going to say you're going to hold responsible for any offense, for instance? And again, it leads us to the argument over whether or not there are not too many. Do we need a bicameral legislature in this country or just a unicameral legislature? Do we need the duality, the binary of the Senate and the House of Representatives doing the same job? Is it not a problem for our pulse? Is it not a problem for our wallets? And is it not a problem for processes and procedures? Is it not time wasting? Can our economy support it? over time going forward, we may have to examine this, and it's probably the reason why we are having underperformance on their part. But if you ask me again, Cyril, I would say that it is not really a failure for them. We have seen some increased consciousness on their part to lay claim to credibility, even if we cannot see any practical thing to justify this. But at the level of attempt, we will say, okay, they have attempted success. They have made obvious attempt at success. But if we want to mark them, I'll just give them 45 over 100.
Let me stay with you a little longer. And how much of the actions would you say, the actions that were carried out by the legislature, how much of that would you say was a reflection of the will of the people? How much of it was more of the flexing of muscles to determine who, in fact, had the power?
Very well, Cyril. I will not really identify any one of their actions as being exemplary in terms of being people-centric. Most actions are largely self-serving. It's either their intention, they're entangled, there's a ding-dong fight between them and the executive, or they are fighting among themselves for power, for raw power, to control resources, to control influence, and to distribute resources. That's all I see. That's why I said there's less of statecraft, there's less of governance, but everything is largely towards self-aggrandizement. Right. And let me tell you, sir, it's not really peculiar to this legislature. I'm not singling them out. I'm not personalizing. I'm only saying that it is a problem of the system, which has a root in history, from our recent history from 1999, and it is still continuing. But we need a redefinition going forward. And as we go into another assembly, we're just hoping that it could be better. You know, we need a set of people that will make a difference, and not think that they will just continue the routine of material acquisition, the routine of collecting constitutional allowance and making nothing about it, the routine of trying to come between the states, the failed states, and the people, instead of working to make sure that institutions of the state work for the benefit of the people, and they not assuming the rule of the states.
Okay. Well, Senator Enna, we're beyond executive bills. Did we see an appreciable number of private bills, members' bills? Did we see an appreciable number of those?
Yeah, there were an appreciable number of executive bills and also private member bills. And these private member bills, I would be a lot reserved to say that there were private member bills. There weren't. There were still executive-induced bills.
Right.
For instance, there are bills that a minister will take to the Federal Executive Council, and it is processed and agreed, and Mr. President forwards under his signature to the National Assembly for consideration. There are bills that they processed fully by the minister and the ministry, and the minister takes it to the president, and the president under his signature forwards it to the National Assembly. There are bills that are processed by the ministries. In the course of being processed, it is the consultation is held between the executive, then the sponsors of the bill, that is the promoters of the bill, and then the chairmen and members of the respective committees of the House and Senate. And before you know it, before the matter goes on, the member takes that bill, takes that draft, and puts his name, and now lays it on the floor, and it is read in the first reading as his own bill. Take, for instance, the Petroleum Industry Bill. The Petroleum Industry Bill is a bill which is fully and wholly propelled by the executive. But having been passed the last time, it wasn't it went through a process, but it couldn't be fully passed. The respective ministries had made all the submissions. Now, in the last administration, the Ministry of Petroleum invited Senator Udoma as consultant to clean up everything that were the disagreement between the executive and the legislature, everything that was the disagreement between the operators and the the disagreement between the operators and the field men, and it was cleaned up and then was ready for to be laid before the legislature. And when this administration came, the legislature decided, okay, there were three aspects of it. They took it and sponsored it differently as if it were drafted or made by them. It is the same bill that we considered in our tenure in the House of Representatives. It is the same bill that we considered in our tenure in the Senate. And it is that bill that is now being given now as if it were a private member bill. It is not, but it is a bill that, and the ministry had given this bill to the legislature through the minister, through the appropriate officers. The legislature took it and did. And then look at, there is the Ease of Doing Business Committee, chaired by the Vice President. A few of the bills that have emanated in some of these areas in the commerce sector are the bills that are emanating from the Ease of Doing Business committees, you know, and they are now taken by members and laid as the member bills. Take again the Constitutional Amendment bills. Some of the Constitutional Amendment bills were drafted and taken and sponsored and promoted either by the judiciary or those who had interest in them, and even the Not Too Young to Run bill. It was raised by a group of interest group, and they sought sponsors on the floor, you know, and the executive supported it. Yes, there has been exclusive bills that have been forwarded by the president, but a great lot of these bills are bills that are emanating from the executive, through the ministers, through the heads of the respective departments and agencies. Take again the transportation bill, you know, and then take a lot of the bills.
So in all of this, what we would see is that there wasn't that, we couldn't say we had an appreciable number of, strictly speaking, private member bills. Not in the real sense of the word.
There were private member bills, yes, to the extent that it was sponsored in the name of those members. But the idea, most of the draftings, the idea, the drafting, and something also happened, which has always happened in every assembly. When every member comes, they will get to the Rules and Business Committee, which I chaired for all the years, 16 years, and they will take some members' bills, some members who have not come back, bills that they left behind. They will dust it up and then sponsor it in their name, whether it makes meaning or not. Some of them even still pick bills which had been assented to, which had been passed and assented to, but they do one or two things. They give it and they still lay, only to discover later in the course of secondary that it has been. So there has been a lot of private member bills. But please let me not be heard to say that this legislature has not been very active. I want to say in great honor to the present legislature that first, they have passed the highest number of bills that any legislature has passed. I give them credence. All right. Then so I'll conclude by saying also that President Buhari has assented to the highest number of bills and made them law than any other president.
Okay, let's leave aside the issue of the numbers and then maybe take a closer look at the quality. Yes. And that's where we'll come with Mr. Dangi. Not the numbers now, not the quantity, but the quality. How do you assess the quality of those things?
Thank you, Cyril. But before I reply, if you wouldn't mind letting me say one or two things, not necessarily joining issue with my colleague here when he was criticizing the poor performance of the 8th Senate, or Senate generally since 1999, since inception. And I had the rare privilege to be there in the Senate from 1999 to 2011. They call me a ranking senator or 3-time senator. It is not correct to say there have never been any positive contribution in national development in terms of legislation. That's one. Number two, he talked about budget padding, which he says since 1999. It's not correct. You see, people misconstrue what is budget padding. And if I may use 1 minute, for instance, when I was there, I was a chairman Senate Committee on FCT. Ministries will come before you as a committee chairman to defend their budget. They will tell you, we have this project pending. road construction within FCT, for instance, that will cost them 2-3 billion, but they are given from the national budget or budget office 1 billion. What is that problem? And they will ask you, please, if you can't out, you go to the leadership and say, okay, based on our understanding or talking with the executive, we will add them 1 billion to make 2 billion. Would you call that budget padding? It's not budget padding, with due respect.
So what we're saying now was even before the recent issues of budget padding, there were certain things that could have been referred to as padding, but not in the real sense of the word.
No, it's not.
There's nothing like padding in the legislature.
Nothing.
The legislature does not pad.
So where did the thing about padding come from?
It's either misconstruction or they just want to malign the National Assembly. You are adding money for this. And the example I gave you.
It emanated from the executive.
From the executive and from outsiders. There are non-governmental organizations who are very good, excellent analysts. Like my brother here, junior brother, he can analyze the budget even before it is presented to the National Assembly. Like political scientists will present, this is what they have. That's what we call tracking the budget. If in my committee or the chief committee chair of the ministry, there is a 10 billion that has been appropriated, I make sure through our oversight function that that money that has been released is judiciously utilized for that purpose. It's not coming to me, Cyril. Please, people should understand. When do you say you have added so based on the understanding, and even like I say, with the ministry and even the executive, say, okay, give them the money. It's not given to the legislator. No money, to the best of my knowledge, that is put or added that is given. Number two, sir, he said there was nothing to reckon. Sir, with due respect, he has forgotten, with due respect to my dear political scientist and doctor, we applied doctrine of necessity when there was a problem, a vacuum. There's a lacuna in our constitution when President Eradua of blessed memory left this country for medical trip. He couldn't hand over to Goodluck Jonathan, who was his vice president. Through the leadership of the National Assembly, with David Mark in charge, which I respect, we now apply doctrine of necessity, which saved this country for a chaos. And we quickly, amended the lacuna. In my 12 years, I remain a member of the Constitutional Review. Ita was there in the House. He made that. And that is a very important achievement that we say, yes, you can give credit to that. Finally, sir, the legislative duty we also do. We say we should empower state assembly. Let them be out of the mouthfuls of the governors. Let them be independent. We get them at the national. They refuse, but now I think they're getting it. Oh. So, Cyril, if I can come to...
Okay, yes. We will return to the issue of padding or not padding later on. But let's still get your views quickly about the quality of bills.
Yes, he started. You see, in Nigeria, Cyril and viewers, we have thousands of bills. He is a lawyer, I'm a lawyer, we're all quite a learned, fine gentleman, and you too, a veteran journalist. You know that we have thousands of laws in Nigeria. What is lacking is implementation or applying those laws for the betterment of the average Nigerian. For instance, like you say, you must give this ex-National Assembly the number of bills they have passed, but not the quality. There are important bills. For instance, the young shall not too young to run out. It's for all the youths who are coming. Look at in Ukraine, 41-year man is now the president. What stops we Nigerians here to have a young man of 40, 50, or nearly 60 like me to be the president? Not 70. That's a good one. So, sir, the law is supposed to cover everybody, not you, the able one. There is a bill that has been passed by a disability bill, which you know, he has been signed by Mr. President because he is conscious of the fact that there are some, do I say, disabled Nigerians who want to be attended to. That bill has been signed. And so many other bills that, if they are implemented, certainly the art of governance, both in economy, our political growth, and every other person, even the women, they are left behind. Look at the quota they see they should be given. They are not being given. Okay. But if that is given to them, then that's good governance.
So thank you. You've raised so many issues, but the phone lines are already open, and we have a caller from Maiduguri. Yusuf, who's calling in. Hello, Yusuf. Hello, Yusuf.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Yusuf, we said at the beginning your name is on air. It means your call is through to the studio. We're waiting to hear your views. All right, that call is gone. So, Awal Musa Rafsanjani, there's a whole load of issues that have been raised coming from the quality of bills, the issue of private member bills, and pardon, which somehow slipped in. Even though both Senator Itainang and Sudangi say there's no party in the legislature. So we'll be curious later on, because we'll return to them, particularly Senator Itainang, to find out where the concept of pardon emanated. And if he haven't been in the legislature or now in the executive, was aware that a number of, issues arose in the executive arm of government about pardon. So we'll later ask him what he did to change that thinking. But what do you say?
Okay, let me quickly come back to the first issue about the legislature, or rather private member bills. I think we have to admit the fact that the executive has not been proactive in sending some of these bills. He knows very well the petroleum industry bill has been languishing in this country for a very long time. And when this government came, they did not make a formal submission as a bill. Till today, the executive has not formally submitted a bill that could have probably substituted what a private member bill has done. Like in the case of tobacco control bill, it was, a private member bill. The executive, which we supported, the Ministry of Health, they decided to also bring the bill, and the private member bill was dropped. Then the executive bill
it was
actually,
merged.
It was
Consolidated,
it was consolidated. So I'm saying in the case of petroleum industry bill, if the executive had been proactive, probably the executive would have taken that credit. But as it is now, for record, the executive cannot take that credit. It is the private member bill, even though it has been there for years before even this current National Assembly. Secondly, in terms of the quality of the bill, everybody knows that, and the current president suffers from the electoral fraud. And what we expected him to do when he comes, he should have actually initiated the process of ensuring that the electoral process is reformed. But as I speak to you, it is on record. Till today, we did not have executive bill, on electoral reform. Rather, what National Assembly had come up to do was, which has been submitted and the executive had issue. Till today, it has not been resolved, and that's why today it has not been signed, and that's why the 2019 election was not conducted on the basis of the amended, Electoral Act. So definitely, you cannot blame National Assembly, who some of them, they are actually desperate to make name. They wanted to show that they perform, so they didn't care whether it is a quality bill, whether it is a quantitative bill. What they wanted is to see that they actually promoted a bill. So, but I am saying that the executive on some of these key important national economic bill, they should not have waited and, until when somebody take the credit.
All right, let me ask you to just pause a while here. We'll return to you. Let's try and take this call from Lagos. Blessing calling in. Hello, Blessing.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, Blessing.
Hello.
Blessing, we said it at the start of the program. Your call goes through, your name appears on screen, it means your call is through. Okay, we've lost that call. But let me re-emphasize this. It's every Tuesday we do this, and we always acquaint you with the procedure. Once your name is on screen, it means your call has been passed through. Two things you need to do. The first is turn down the volume of your TV set so you don't listen to yourself talking. There will definitely be a hurlback or an echo. The second thing is just go straight to the point, because your name is already on screen, and as we say, it means that your call has been passed through to the studio. So let's say this one more time for all those who are calling in. Once your call has been passed to the studio, your name will appear on screen. And once you see your name, it means you just go right ahead. Don't even bother to say hello. Just go right ahead. Once I call on you and say, go ahead, go straight to the point. Okay. Now, let's return to you, Awal.
Then on the issue, quickly on the issue of the budget padding, I think what some people probably understood about, budget padding is when the executive had actually submitted, a bill and certain particular heading that were not initiated by the executive, and suddenly they appeared, in the bill without consultation, because the process of budget is a dialogue, it's consultation, it's a, more, if you like, negotiation, right from the start to the end, So one maybe perhaps the executive sees something that was never part of what they have originally originated, then maybe that's what they will probably consider as maybe something that has come very strange, and now given its name padding.
Yeah.
But I don't think the way people are talking about, and with due respect of what even Bola Tinubu was talking about, I think is just politics. I think the truth. Let's be honest and be sincere about this thing. And secondly, you see, even if the National Assembly had done this budget, has passed it, the president assented it, the process of releases it has nothing to do with the National Assembly. It is the executive that they will release the money, they implement. So even if they have done it, they can even do damage control by it.
Okay, let's return to the phones now. From Calabar, we have Samuel calling in. Hello, Samuel. Samuel, are you with us?
Yeah.
Go right ahead. So go on, Samuel. We're waiting to hear from you.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I want to contribute to the discussion on I would like to ask the question on what. Yes, I wonder why is it that our Senate and our executive have these issues of conflicting with themselves, disregarding the issues and the basic needs of the populace. You see, we need to come to a point whereby we realize that what the populace is going through is very important. But our executive and our legislature, sorry, I'm going a little bit off what you have been discussing, but it's still part of what I'm saying. But I'm trying to say this so as to help that this country goes forward. If we love this country the way we claim to love it, I don't know why our Senate and our executives, to me, I feel they have poor regard for the society, poor consideration for our society, because a lot of people are going through a lot of things. Our economy is going down through a lot of recession or problems. Jobs are lacking here and there. Our executives and our Senate seem to be very unconcerned. And the media, I don't know if we should also be addressing this issue very much. Because I feel if we want this country to go forward, we just have to be very serious about what we are doing and ensure that this country goes forward. Because to me, we are just beating a lot around the bush. Let us face the issues. Our executives are underperforming. Our senators are underperforming. The populace are suffering. And it is very, very bad. I don't just know. Please, I don't know if I should say I'm sorry for going a little off what you're saying.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Certainly, our guest here would address the issue you've just raised. And he says both the legislature and the executive have underperformed. But back to the initial issues about the quality and, of course, padding. It was Dr. Atedi who raised it. And,
but I think...
Yes, but just before you put a cap on it, let me go back to Senator Ita Enang. And the fact still remains that the whole concept of padding and how the public got to know about what was called padding and adopted it, it all came from the executive. So...
Well, padding is a word that is just not yet in, I think it's just coming into the legislative lexicon.
Right.
And in my opinion, my limited knowledge of the law, padding will occur where after the legislature has passed a matter, in the course of transmitting or after passing, then, and it is contained in the vote and proceedings, then the committee of the Senate and the House Committee on Appropriation now sits and add many things to it before forwarding to the executive. That is padding. That's correct.
Did we have cases of that?
Now, if on the part of the executive...
Yes, but were there cases of what you just described?
The process is, I have always criticized it.
Okay.
I've criticized it a long time. And my colleague, a senior lawyer, will also bear me witness that the legislature should ensure that when it is passing budget, the details of the budget is contained in the votes and proceedings, and it is known and seen by every person, and it is there in the vote, and it is that which is transmitted to the president for assent. Not a situation where when the legislature passes, the members are all gone. The chairman of the Senate and the House Committee on Appropriation will run away with the budget. I'm sorry about it. That is the practice.
Yes.
Will just hide in 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Their phones are off. And then they now do the fine details of the budget and sign. On the chairman of the Senate committee will sign, chairman of the House committee will sign, and then forward it to the president. What you have signed and forwarded to the president is illegal. That is actual padding, because it is what is passed by the House stops at where the sectoral allocations are. These ones that is not certified by the clerk, is not contained in the vote and proceedings, is actually an illegality. Some days ago, I addressed, and I've addressed it about 4 different conferences, that the legislature should be hard enough. And in 2003, 2007, in amending the standing orders of the House of Representatives, I instead inserted there as chairman of the Rules Committee and chairman of the Standing Orders Amendment Committee, I inserted there that there must be the details laid before every member before appropriation committee. That is padding at that level. But then it is accepted as if it were a norm. On the part of the executive, if after presenting the budget to the president, he adds comma or apostrophe or changing the figure or does anything to it before assenting to it, that will be padding, but it has never happened because the law does not allow. Okay. Therefore, padding in terms of budget or this thing is strange as it is, but it is practiced as wrongly.
Okay.
And unless we go to do the right thing, there will still be a wrong idea of
Okay, so let's
padding.
not dwell too long on that, but let's get back to the phones now. And from Edo State, Elvis is calling in. Hello, Elvis.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
We are just pursuing the shadow instead of the substance. Look at the cost of maintaining the politicians. People other professional bodies will say, you must pay me this. Medical people will come, you must pay me this. Judiciary will come, you must pay me this. We are just dancing around the district. We are pursuing the substance. We are pursuing the shadow instead of the substance. If we decided to reduce the cost of maintenance of politicians, people will run away. They will go and do other work. People really want to work, who really want to make name, they will come. Look at the African Union today. Sudan, they are fighting a lot of, they said that the military should not come. When the Sudanese they were faced with challenge of insecurity, people are dying, people are suffering, they didn't come. When the military now come now, you said you want to come. You said that the military should not go. When they were having problems with their country, when people are dying, what is their contribution? They are not pursuing the shadow instead of the resources. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Elvis from Edo State. Well, okay, so let's come back to Dr. Adeni, and 2 things have also been added to it now. First, you heard Samuel from Calabar say both the executive and the legislature have not performed. They have underperformed, in his words. And, of course, you just listen to Elvis now.
Very well, Cyril. But before then, I have the greatest respect for the senators here because they were representatives of the people at one point or the other. And for Senator Sodangi, I want to let him know as well that as a correspondent working with The Guardian, I covered him in the Senate alongside Okadibo and the rest of them. So I'm very, very familiar with the workings of the legislature. It's not particularly new to me. And for the senator who speaks for the government, who works for the government as well, I know him very well, and I'm sure he will attest to that, But the point I'm making is this. The point I was trying to make is this. Much as we have legislators, we have senators and representatives who are otherwise respectable people, who are otherwise accomplished people, why is it that oftentimes they get soaked in the packs and perquisites of office, that they sometimes lose focus of the original mission and vision that they articulated in the first instance, on which they rode to get into power? Why is it that after many years, irrespective of what the very respectable Senator Sodangi has said, after many years of performance, after many years of trial, not many of them, will you see, have been outstanding in terms of absolute contribution to their constituents, as it were? Most of the time, why is this perception? Yes, they may challenge this perception, they may see it as wrong, but the perception out there is that the legislature are not making any difference. They're just people who get into power and luxuriate at the expense of the people that voted them there in the first instance. This is a continuing perception that I'm talking about, and that I think that the next legislature should begin to work on. It's okay to say that not all of them are like that, to say that some of them are still outstanding, some of them are morally upright. But how many of these people have we been able to identify in the last 20 years? Is it that they are overwhelmed because they exist in a motley crowd of people? Are they scared that they're going to be badgered and bruised by the majority? Then if that is the case, why can't they just resign? Or is it that they get sucked in, they belong to the majority, and continue the perpetration of some of the acts, some of the downsides we keep talking about? The perception out there of the average Nigerian legislature is somebody who just want to luxuriate, who is prebendal about wealth acquisition, who is concerned about material acquisition. Okay, and they see these opulence right before the people. How do we change this narrative? What can they do on their part? And that's the point we're making, really. We know that they emanate from the people. Sometimes they justify it and saying that the people need us to bring money back home, the people need us to bring goods and all of that, so they also need money to service the people. You can make this difference. That's the point. If you continue to pander to the primitive, prebendal desire of the people, you're not going to make any difference. Okay, there has to be courage if you want to drive change, if you want to bring about change. There has to be courage. We have seen some of these courageous attempts in the executive, for instance. I will keep making the example. You may raise questions about them, but it is this same society that we're talking about that bred Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, that bred Fashola as governor of Lagos State, that bred Nasir El-Rufai as FCT minister, okay, and Adewumi, and the Nuri Badu as EFCC chairman. These people went into office and they made differences, and the records are seen there. They left very good legacies. They may not be perfect, they may be controversial, you may fault them at different instances, but you give them 60, 70%. Okay, but I'm saying that in the legislature too, we can replicate this kind of thing. We can have these kind of leaders coming out and making the difference, and not just kowtow to the whims and caprices of the majority because you are afraid of being badgered out. What is it? If you leave the legislature, it's not going to be the end of your life, but you'll have made a statement, and Nigerians will salute you for that.
All right, at this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be other issues to look at, oversight functions, and of course, we'll not put the question, what are the pitfalls to avoid as we go into the 9th National Assembly? Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. It's still a question about the 8th National Assembly, which is getting ready to wind down, and of course expectations of what the 9th Assembly will bring to bear on Nigeria's democracy. Now, just before the break, we had Dr. Adeni raise a number of issues, and we'll ask the other guests in the studio to comment on those, and of course also talk a bit about the oversight functions of the legislature. That has also been marred by a lot of controversies about what actually is oversight functions and what actually happens when members go on oversight functions. And easily you would hear 20, 30 different stories. Senator Itayanan.
Yeah, ordinarily it is expected that I should defend and say that what my brother has said about the legislature and the intention of coming to the legislature is not correct, because I'm supposed to defend the legislature and sometimes make them happy. But unfortunately for my colleague, the legislators, and some senators and members of the House of Representatives, I will not, because it is disappointing reasons why some people come to the legislature. Some people don't come to the legislature because they are coming to make laws and because they are coming to do something that adds values to the nation or value to the lives of people. Some people come to the legislature because they think it is a place to make money, whereas it is not and ought not to be. In my presentation last year in 2015, at the 2015 orientation and in the 2019 orientation to senators, I met the senators and members of the House of Representatives. I made them to understand that the legislature is the #1 arm of government, and that the legislature, what the legislature does, and the laws they make, is the law that the Court of Appeal, that the Federal High Court, State High Court, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, the National Industrial Court, the different divisions of the Court of Appeal, and above all, the Supreme Court will interpret. That means that you are supposed to be extremely cerebral It is an intellectual arm of government. It is the number one arm of government. It is expected that you are higher and bigger and better trained in your brain. But that is not how they come. I'm sorry about it, and I don't apologize. I won't apologize, but the reason why some people come to the legislature is not for the purpose of adding value to the lives of people. It is for the purpose of, oh, it is the turn of my people. Oh, you have gone 2 terms. Oh, the man has suffered too much in politics, let him just go. And they go, come, sit, warm the bench, and they go back making no impact. Unfortunately, in our second term in the House of Representatives, in 2003, when some men from one of the commercial zones of the country came to the National Assembly, and when they came, they heard how much it was. That time it was housing allowance. They heard what constituency allowance was.
Furniture allowance.
Yes, furniture allowance.
Yes.
And they inflated it in such a manner that people wanted to kill others to come, and those people left their businesses and sold their this thing and came. Now, we were first given the a loan to buy car and given the loan for house rent. Then, after 2 months, 3 months, they started deducting. Now, those my brothers from the one commercial zone of the country now said, when will that money that they said will pay come? They went to Masari and said, where is the money? They say, which one? So they mentioned all the things they had were being paid to this thing. And when they discovered it wasn't true, they left back to their different places, some in Lagos and some to the base, and just left their account number, and throughout their 4 years, they never came again, because their idea was not to contribute to legislation. They didn't come to with any cerebral intent to contribute to lawmaking. Lawmaking that is why you have in the legislature that says House of Lords.
Very well.
You must have passed a stage of what will my children eat. You would have passed a stage of what do I pay my children's school fees. You would have been a stable person in your life, having finished only to contribute to society. But it is not. Therefore, it is. I'm sorry to my colleagues that I have to agree with you, and that we have to go back to the basics. You know, that relates to the quality of bills we make. And then you talked about oversight.
Right.
I write the same thing about oversight. My brothers, legislators, let us redefine oversight. What is oversight? Oversight ought to be a situation where we have appropriated 300 billion naira for you, Ministry of Works. You were to do this road and this road and this road. As of today, this is 6 months into the implementation of the budget. Minister of Finance, have you released money to them? Look, to what extent have you implemented this? Or Minister of Finance, why have you not implemented this? Or in the course of it, the contractor has spent and gone very far and this road is so much needed. It will be appropriate for us to consider a supplementary budget to add money for this road, because suffering of the people is much. And at the end of it, you now come back and write a report, which we call report after oversight, and sometimes sessional report. But as chairman of Rules and Business, I had a lot of trauma. I apologize now, because I think I'm getting too far.
Okay. All right. We'll ask you to pause and take this call from Wisdom, who's calling in from Oyo State. Hello, Wisdom.
Yes. Thank you very much. It's a simple question I want to ask. Is it necessary for us to still run this bicameral legislature that we have in this country?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
I'm Wisdom calling from Uyo, not Oyo.
Uyo, yes, from Uyo.
From Akwa Ibom State.
Okay, fine.
I think we should maintain just one legislature, and not to have Senate and House of Representatives, according to towing the line of Dr. Biodone, who to do.
Right. Dr. Adeni raised that issue. Thank you, Wisdom from Uyo. Thank you very much. Well,
Cyril, thank you very much. In addition to what my learned colleague have said in terms of why, in the first place, of people electing representatives to come to the National Assembly. Is it to come and make money? Is it for the fun of it? Or whatever? Certainly it is not. It's a representation of your people from your constituency. And people think you come to the National Assembly, you make money. What is the money? You are not giving money to go and execute a contract in your constituency. Even this constituency project I'm saying, I want to repeat quickly, Mr. Cyril, I have executed so many projects, boreholes, rural health centers, whatever, e-library. I swear to God, in my honor, I don't know even the contractor.
All right, so
let me say, so it's not to make money, but let me tell you one thing. Nigerians are becoming more aware. If they think you fail to do what they call feedback mechanism, go back to your constituency, tell your people this is what is happening. Or why are you quarreling with Mr. President? Why are you not talking on our behalf? I swear to God, you not go back to your constituency, and people will not elect you.
Well,
That's number one. Yes.
Could this be a misunderstanding? The people who are electing these representatives of theirs, because it's still happening, and no sooner than a member of the House of Representatives or a senator is inaugurated, you have a long queue. People want jobs. They want you to give them jobs. They want money. They want to build houses. They want all kinds of things. Why is that still on the high side?
If I may reply quickly, like I'm trying to say, apart from the fact that you are a representative of the people, go back to them, represent them efficiently, you must have a God-fearing mind. You have not come to enrich yourself or whatever. You have not come to be a controversial legislator, or just you want to make fun of it, play to the gallery.
Or so that you're a big man.
Have a God-fearing, because your people are. What you have now said, unfortunately, let's also blame our electorate. Most of them, who and they are in the majority, they think that once you are elected, you are just as good as any executive, minister, governor. You can give contract, you can give letter, you can give, and the queue, naming ceremony, burial, whatever, they come to you. But quite a number of Nigerians, the educated one like Dr. Adeniji, should be up and doing, like my brother, Rafsanjani. They should educate Nigerians. The act of legislative or legislator, act of governance is not to give money to you, dash money to you, but see it on the ground. That's a house saying, if there is a festivity in our house, let's see it on the ground. Don't think that the presidency or ministry or whatever, you come and dash you money if you are a minister. See the dividend of democracy, have a good governance. Our economy is not in a good shape. So tell people that one. And then an oversight function. Let me say quickly and add to what he said. Like he said, if you are going to do effective oversight function, extract the budget, like they call in America. The money has been processed to Ministry of Works. A road of 10 billion, 8 billion is given to you. There is no job of 5 billion. You as a legislator representing the nation, not even your constituency, where is that money? But as soon as you start doing that, to the best of your knowledge and your committee member, they'll say, oh no, you are disturbing this ministry or this minister because you want him to give you, quote unquote, Ghana must go. Okay. That's the ignorance of due respect of our Nigerians. Once you want to do the job between you and your God and your conscience, they will now climb on you, you want to get money. But it's not. All of us should know that the act of governance is not act of coming to make money in Abuja or in your state headquarters, but you must serve the people. If not, Nigerians are seeing what is happening in other countries. We don't pray or anything adversary to happen, but we must have a fear of God and do this thing that we're expected to do, whether you're in the executive cadre, whether you're a legislator, House Assembly or national. Serious, and you journalists have a lot to create more awareness. The lecturers, the non-governmental relations, Dr. Jani is doing his best. Like I told you, there are quite a number of non-governmental analysts that I know they can tell you about budget, whether the executive are performing or other legislators are doing whatever, they will tell you. Do more so that we can clean this country and make it better.
Well, Rafsanjani, perhaps you can help us out here. I wonder if you've heard, because I do know that this is in the public space, if you've heard, statements like ministries, departments and agencies, when they have oversight visits from members of the National Assembly, it goes with a cost. Have you heard that?
Yes. Cyril, quickly, before responding to this issue, let's come back to the roots. I think the process of the party nomination is where you have the characters that represent us. Now, if you have a situation whereby crooks and criminal 419, they now bribe party official to get the nomination, and from party 1, 2, 3, they, the same characters are the one. So the electorate will have no option then to choose from, those people. So we need to reform our political party system in Nigeria so that we can have credible, responsible, patriotic, committed, skilled, knowledgeable Nigerians coming to buy different, to contest different positions in this country. Otherwise, we would just be doing window dressing. Okay. Now, coming back to this issue of oversight thing, he knows very well. They know very well. A situation whereby you go on oversight, and until the last maybe 8 or until the last 8 years, I think it was during Eradua that National Assembly really started getting enough money to even do things, because I remember during 1999-2003, some committees, they didn't even have enough stationaries to do their work. They were practically starved. They didn't have resources until when National Assembly really started getting resources. So to go on oversight, for example, you want to go and see how shell damage the environment. Now they bring helicopter. They take you, to the site. When you go there, probably they do welfare. Tell me, what credible report will you be able to write? It will be difficult. So if we want National Assembly to do its work very well, we must also ensure that we provide them with the enabling resources so that they can do this thing and they are not actually, going to do window dressing during their oversight thing. So we need to make sure that...
I'll return to you. I like the word you said, welfare. I'll return to you, but we have a caller, Emmanuel from Calabar. Hello, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Go right ahead.
Good evening.
Evening.
I thank the Senator for agreeing with the doctor, which is the real problem that is facing this country. The electorate are very unaware of the situation of this country and the responsibility of those they are electing into office. So they just feel that by electing somebody into an office is for the person to represent you by giving you money. And yet your roots, the hospitals, and all the problems of the society are still there. Yet the money that is given to you sometimes reduces you to nothing when you cannot even afford a livelihood of your own. So the legislature are so afraid of their next election. So all what they try to do is to see how they will please this electorate, and thereby putting themselves in a position where they try to only get money to come and give the electorate the peanut, which does not even satisfy them in any way. And another thing is that they try to become confrontational, because they prepare, it's as if it is an opportunity for them to prepare for the next election. So they bring their party more into bear, instead of enlightening the society on the problem of the society. They become confrontational to the executive, to themselves, as long as they are not in the same party. They don't allow the country and the governance to be the first priority. After elections, we believe that after elections, it is over about party. We should be interested in the governance. We should know that we have one governor, we have one president, we have a legislature representing a particular area. So you should be talking about their president, irrespective of whichever party it comes from, because that is the only way out. But we see the legislature doing more of the damage because they are representing the people, and they do more of the damage by not telling the people the truth, just maybe because the president does not come from the same party with them, or the governor does not come from the same party with them. So I think the best we can do is to see that after election, let the legislature try to educate the people, their people, about governance, that what matters is the governance, and to produce better dividends in terms of infrastructure to the people, so that we begin to develop ourselves and to get to know the real things that we need to do in order that this country can move forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel from Calabar. Rafsanjani, welfare, that word, I made a note of it. So how do you insulate the incoming members from this act of welfare?
Unfortunately, there's little or no that you can do, because many of the people that have been elected, they actually, there has been allegation that they had to pay heavily, to get in there. So when they come, what they want to do is to recover their money, whether by whatever means, And that is why I say we need to reform the party nomination process if we want to bring sanity in governance, because people who don't have business coming to legislature, they should not know that, they should not just come there. If you know you are coming to do business, go to do trading or commerce. But if you are coming to legislature, know that your responsibility is to contribute to the law that will create jobs, that will boost the economy, that will create stability in the country. Not to come and be thinking that you want to make money from there, and in the process, intimidation, insult, abuses, you go and harass people, that is not legislative oversight. It is more of like legislative tyranny, and extortion. I have always said that, and I have always, advised members, that look, if you want people to take you serious, first, you must also close this gap. There's a total disconnect between members, elected officials, and electorate. And that is why all this problem. If you spend 2 years as a member, you refuse to go to your constituency, the day they see you, they want to collect everything. But if you are regular going there and discussing with them, even giving them feedback on what you are doing, the challenges they are facing, and if there are any warning issues in your constituency, they give you feedback. I'm telling you, nobody will be asking you those money. But when you decide to stay in Abuja, you disconnect, you don't want to have anything to do with them. The day they see you, they will say, okay, we want to get our own share from you. But if they are seeing you in arrears, if they are seeing you regularly and you are challenging them, can you contribute? Because the legislative process is such a collective responsibility. The community, the electorate contributes to the electoral success of your member. It's not just enough just to do the election. It is also your responsibility to help him, on his legislative achievement, so that he can effectively and efficiently represent you. And even in terms of making the law, you can also go to there and tell them, look, we are considering this bill. What's your opinion? You can actually have, quality, contribution from different kind of people within your constituency. But when you alienate the constituents, that's where the problem is. And because also the failure of governance at the state and the state and local government level, everybody thinks that you are in Abuja, so you will have to go, because some of the governors, they don't do nothing. Some of the local government chairmen, they don't do nothing. And people are living in serious, critical poverty situation, no job. So when they see you every day, you are shining, you are coming with big car, with this thing, they want to see how they can, collect something. So we need to make sure that governance at local and state level is also effective. Otherwise, the expectation from general public, especially from your constituents to the members of the National Assembly, will always be high. So we will continue to educate and sensitize the electorate that the member is not to come and be giving them money, but to ensure that he legislates a law, he contributes into the legislation process that will guarantee and ensure peace and security, job opportunity, and the economy boosting. That's what your legislator should actually do. And if he's not doing that, then you should be able to ask him, what are you doing really?
There's an example, please, I want to give to share with you on this oversight. Like he said, coincidentally, I happen to be a first chairman, Senate Committee on Human Rights and LNG, because when Chuba Kadibo of Blessed Memory came on board, after the removal of the fall of is it Wabara now? Yes. He said no, so then he cannot continue to be a chairman of FCT. He's a top man, blah, blah, blah. He created, for the first time, human rights, and he joined it with LNG. This LNG, this is Afghanistan. We want, with our members, we want to Port Harcourt. Let's see this tarmac. They say that's a big tarmac, it's a platform where LNG is being exported. The executive have to be blamed. They don't open their books. We went to Port Harcourt. They gave us helicopter, like you rightly said. 7 of us, but 3 said they can't fly this across the sea to go because they will not. Let's go and come back. We went, we volunteered. When we went, I don't want to mention the MD or whatever they call him. They might just show a voluminous book of whatever they are doing. How much are you selling this LNG? How much are you gaining? What is it going to NPC? They refuse to open up to us. Okay. We came back, they never. And then Obasanjo now said there must be a proper utilization of our energy, gas. We went to the offshore, of course, within Port Harcourt. We saw the flaring of the gas. What will you do? We started advocating. The executive must do something, but there was nothing up to today. Flaring of gas. He knows better. Being a son of the soil of South.
All right. Fine. So, well, they had the helicopter, but they didn't bring it.
They not even. Only writing part.
We have another caller on the line. This time from Chudi from Imo State. Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, what the senator said is my concern. Okay? People with legal knowledge and fitness is supposed to be allowed for legislation. That is the real truth. And not these businessmen. People that do buying and selling have nothing to do in the National Assembly. They have nothing. Most of these people we have in Nigeria now, jostling for House of Rep, House of the Senate. In fact, they are not supposed to be there. That's the problem. I heard what the senator said here in this program, and that is true. They are going in the National Assembly to make money. They are going in there to make money, notwithstanding the sufferings of the Nigerians, the common person. So what I'm trying to suggest is, if we can be able to organize ourselves very well, allow people with legal fitness to go to the green chamber or the red chamber. They will do better for us in Nigeria. This is the truth. I know of one of my relations, I don't want to call names, who is in the National Assembly now, who they voted in for the National Assembly now. He has nothing to do. He just returned from abroad. He still have money to contest election. Now he is in the National Assembly. What is he going there to do? Is he not to go and rake money? So if there is any way we can do that in this country, by allowing people that have legal fitness to go and represent us, either in the green chambers or the red chambers, they will do better. That is my own contribution.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, Dr. Hadini, as we begin to look at the other side.
Please, just
yes,
1 second.
Right.
Please, let me just tell my brother from Imo State that it is not appropriate to say that only people with legal knowledge should go to the legislature. Because the legislature is made of all kinds, all levels, all persons of all
persuasions, yes.
all professions and bodies. And because when you go to make laws, you are not only making laws for lawyers, you have to have engineers, doctors, artisans, you have to have even the federal character. You must have women, you must have men, you must have persons, even persons with one challenge or the other. Yeah. So it's not. When the National Assembly was considering the Engineering Registration Council, they took a lot of ideas from engineers on the field. When the environmentalists are also having the national something on the on environmental, and then the other one, about 3 of them, they have professionals in that field. So you need, but the most important thing is that you must be committed to the work of legislation. And if you want to be a legislator in any field, you be the best in that field. You don't need to be a lawyer.
All right.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay. So then as we begin to wind down, what are those pitfalls that you would say the incoming Ninth Assembly should avoid so as to enhance the business of governance?
Very well, sorry. Towards the end of the last round of question, I discovered that we're beginning to talk about the commodification of the political process, you know, the introduction of materialism, the privileging of cash in our system. And it's important to note that the question of welfareism that Rafton Johnny talked about is also will also come into play because our system hardly works. Our system is not working. The institutions are not working at the optimum. The agencies are largely failing. You know, yes, they are trying. There are some pockets of attempts in some places to make sure that these things are working, but because they are not working, because the infrastructures and utilities are not there, you know, some of the basic needs of man, basic needs of the people are not available. Healthcare facilities are poor, educational facilities are not there, you know, other infrastructures are dilapidated. You know, we see all these things every day. It is important for our political leaders, for the power elite, to begin to be much more concerned about perfecting these processes, about improving on these infrastructures and utilities for the benefit of the people. But because of the failure of the state, reflected on in the failure of the institutions, the politicians, the power elite are coming in to fill this vacuum. And that's why you see them, they're able to distribute money because the system itself is porous. Not all of them anyway. Some of them are very good. We need to cut some of them in slack. We do not have to generalize. But the point is the system is porous. Some of them cashing on this faulty system to pervert the system, you know, enrich themselves and begin to distribute this wealth, trying to buy love, buy affection from the people, instead of rather focusing on developing the state institution such that the people whose love they are trying to buy in the first place would not find the need to resort to them when they are in need.
Okay,
and that's why you see in this system, most of the time, you see some of these people wrongly say that, oh, this leader A is good, lead politician B is nice because he gives me money when I'm broke, or he pays for my children's school fee. It is not supposed to be so. The state is supposed to be responsible for you ordinarily, but the politicians, the power elite are failing to ensure that these state institutions are working at the optimum.
Let me ask you to pause a while.
That's the tragedy of our situation.
We'll return to you for the other part of it, but let's get in this call from Lagos. Basil calling in from Lagos. Hello.
Yeah,
yes, go right ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think the major, what we need to do, you know, to make sure that our legislature is effective. One of the things we need to do is first to stop the mercantilizing of the legislation. You know, the money that, you know, goes to the National Assembly, I think this is one of the reasons why people go there. Can we make it part-time? Can we make legislature part-time? Can we reduce all those monies we are calling, we see, you know, on papers and social media? Can we reduce that? Two, can we make legislation totally independent? You know, because this issue of the executive, you know, fighting the legislature, the legislative fighting the executive, I think we need these bodies need to be totally independent. Let the executive do their job. It's not party affair, it's not a family affair. Let the legislature do their job. You know, and then I believe if we have the interests of this nation at heart, you know, we should place the interests of this nation first. You know, on the table. You know, the legislature should be able, you know, to do their job very well. Then as Senator Ningi said earlier on, you know, when you don't equip the senators, when it comes to oversight function, you are tempting them to do otherwise. You are tempting them to do otherwise. You know, so I strongly believe that the legislation should be independent, totally independent, you know, and then the executive shouldn't be interfering, and they shouldn't be interfering in the legislature too. They should be made to be part-time. We don't need to pay them billions of allowances. You don't need that, for goodness sake. If they really want to be making laws, let it be part-time. Let's half of the House of Reps we have and the Senate. We could even match both of them together. What are we doing with over 300 and something representatives? When we have local government chairmen there, we have state governors, we have the House Assembly members, we now have senators, at least 3 from each state, and they begin to have House of Reps. These are the little resources we have. This is what we were spending them. But we need all these things. We don't need them. We don't. And then someone mentioned, Mr. Chidi from Imbu, said something about everybody comes to the National Assembly. Well, from what Senator Ikenan said earlier on, he said because we have a lot of bodies or professions, professions, in the assembly. But the truth is this: I understand what the chief of the man was talking about. Someone that doesn't have from a 6 certificate, or SC6 certificate, they just cook it from nowhere. He can't even express himself. And then because from somewhere he made the money and then they just put him in. And then what do you think he's going to do in the National Assembly? Someone that cannot express himself very well. How can he now represent the people? Someone that doesn't even understand the trends of things, doesn't even understand what it means to make laws, doesn't even understand his environment, doesn't even understand the situations around him. And how do you think he will influence laws in the National Assembly?
Okay. All right.
So we need not to be in the National Assembly. And again, coming to electoral bills, coming to electoral processing, I think one of the things we need to do again is to make people that comes to the National Assembly, it shouldn't be, when you say I'm 35 years of age, good. Then it can't be just that.
Okay. All right. Basil from Lagos, thank you very much for your views. Thank you so much. And we'll just return to Dr. Adeni as he rounds off the point he was making, yes, about how to, the pitfalls to avoid as the Ninth Assembly comes in.
Yeah, I think it's just a very straightforward, Cyril. I mean, they should be much more conscientious. They should just ensure that, they help in ensuring that institutions of the state are much more functional so that they will not begin to assume the role of these institutions. It is society, in sane society, in saner societies, in civilized climes, institutions of states, function well for the benefit of the generality of the populace, such that the rich and the poor have equal access to some of these facilities, some of these utilities. And by the time the so-called poor has the same kind of access that the rich has, it does not have to look into the face of the so-called rich, for handouts. Because whatever is going to use the money to do is already provided by the state. And that's the argument we're making. So the next round of politicians should be concerned about growing our institutions, be concerned about infrastructures and utilities at the expense of the self. After all, they call themselves, they're supposed to be leaders. The role of the leader ordinarily is order-centered behavior. Your behavior is supposed to be sacrificial. Whatever you're doing should be altruistic. It should not be towards self-aggrandizement. And perhaps we need also to tell them that they should begin to hide, they should stop hiding under the cover of anonymity that come with the relative crowd that characterize the National Assembly. If we cannot reduce the number in the circumstance, we need to encourage the ones that are that want to subscribe to high moral value, high virtues, high ethical grounds, to be courageous enough to so do, because the Nigerian people will back them. It is time we move forward. It is time they make a statement at the level of contributing meaningfully towards national development. It is time they move away from this perception of people who are just there to luxuriate at the expense of the people. Some of them, again, might be dangerous to generalize. Some of them are actually conscientious, but we haven't seen much of this one. Perhaps we need more of the good ones. And in the circumstance, it's looking like the ones that are less than salutary are in the majority, and it is not good for us.
Okay, well,
yeah, for me, I think we need to ensure that the new National Assembly, there is what we call code of ethics. distinguished senators, they know, we need to impose that code of conduct for the parliamentarians. I remember, we in the early day of democracy, 1999, 2000, we developed that code of ethics, for parliamentarians. And we need to apply it to each and individual member. That's one. Number two, I think it is important that legislators, they focus on their legislative work. If they focus on the work that they are constitutionally assigned to do, I think we would, they will not have too much distraction, and they will not go outside the compound of what the Constitution allows them to do. Thirdly, I think it is important that legislators know that their work is about consultation, it's about discussion, because they are representing people. So they need to give feedback, they need to account to the people, That's why I always refer the constituency, I always call it constituency accountability. It's not just constituency thing that people think that, just going there to, see people or to attend wedding ceremony. No, I think it is a process of you meeting with the people meeting with you, sharing, ideas, getting feedback from them, and then you also giving them, things. So once we are able to do that, I can tell you that the legislature will redeem, its, what many people have seen as maybe, I don't want to say lost glory, but, they will have redeemed themselves better, particularly after this 2019, the next election, political parties must be reformed. This mercantilism, materialism, attachment to the political party nomination, where extortion and collection of money, from people to contest election has to be eliminated. And the president has a last chance to ensure that reform in the electoral act, in the political party cycle reform, it is done. Otherwise, we will not be able to leave any good legacy in terms of political reform in Nigeria.
Right, Senator Sodangi.
Thank you very much, Cyril and the viewers. Let me start by saying, you see, the beginning of good governance starts with proper understanding, collaborative effort between the legislators, the executive, and effectively the judiciary. What I will advocate and crave the indulgence of those elected is that there must be, in electing their leaders, they have to put in their minds electing people who are committed to their party, committed to their conscience, committed to the nation. And that is why you are going to have an excellent rapport with what Mr. President is going to give. Like he's saying now, his mantra now is next level. There will be a better performance in terms of service delivery, in economy, insecurity, the fighting of corruption, because the bond of contention of taking us down in this country from the local government state is corruption, whether you like it or not. And if Mr. President will be able to succeed in either eliminating or stopping this corruption, this menace, certainly will succeed. And that's why there must be people who are committed in the Senate who are going to be the president, Senate President, the leaders in the House of Representatives, so that we don't have this rancorous or acrimony between the legislators. They say if two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. It is Nigerians who are going to continue to suffer, and we don't want to see this thing continuing. And like we say, Nigerians are becoming more aware of their right. They know what this man is supposed to do, what a legislator is going to do. We must give a peace. We must give a peace to both parties. Let there be understanding. Legislature should not look down upon the legislator, vice versa. And that is why we're going to have the good government. Finally, Mr. Series and my viewers, yes, it is not like a doctor said, it's not everybody that is coming to National Assembly that is bad or coming to make money. Quite a number of them, I want to register this caveat, are very good man of substance. They have the fear of God. They want to come and serve. And in particular, talking for myself, from my state, the retiree senator, the man that took over from me, Abdullah Adamu, is a man of integrity. He also, those other people coming, House of Representatives, they are men of integrity. They are not coming to fight or to grandstanding. All of them should forget about grandstanding. Italian will be in difficulties he found himself. Anybody in between the legislators and the executive. If this one will continue, I swear to God, there will not be nothing that will work, and all of us will regret it, and we don't pray. Give Buhari a chance. The success of President Muhammad Buhari is not his success. It's not APC. He's taking us to next level, but give him cooperation. Even every other person. I hope they will do that, and I believe you will see the difference. I thank you very much.
All right, and taking it from that point back to Senator Enang, do you worry, seeing the signs that are out there, that this 9th Assembly might indeed be going the same path of the 8th Assembly in terms of the squabbles over leadership? Because that's what we've heard so much. We've not heard so much of the elected members talking about what they intend to do to improve governance. It's all about who is going to be the leader, who is going to be a member, who is going to be chairman of what committee. You worry about that?
Yeah, I believe that all that the party has done and all that the members of the All Progressives Congress have done and all the members, all the senators elect and honorable members elect of the House of Representatives and the Senate have done, is pointing towards that they will follow the convention of party and the convention that operates in all legislatures all over the world. And the members themselves have pointed that, look, we want to follow convention. And what is the convention? Is it the highest ranking member re-elected that takes the highest seats? In the House of Representatives, the members of the All Progressives Congress, one, they are in the majority. Two, there are also a lot of people in the PDP who are joining them. And who is the highest ranking person that is re-elected, that is a member of the party? Right Honorable Dogara, the Speaker, is in the PDP. The Lasun is the next person, the Deputy Speaker. He is of APC, but he has not been re-elected. The highest person that has been re-elected is Femi, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. And so he is the highest ranking person amongst, that is in terms of the office he holds and in terms of the number of times he has returned to the House of Representatives. So he is the highest in rank. He is the leader of the House of Representatives. So that makes him automatically qualified, and about 85% of the members of both PDP and APC now have queued behind him to vote him to be the next speaker. So on that area, we are settled. Come to the Senate. Who is the highest ranking member of the All Progressive Congress that has been re-elected? Distinguished Senator Bukola Saraki is the Senate President. He is of the PDP. He has not been re-elected. Then who is the next re-elected person? Is distinguished Senator Professor Eke Ekweremadu. He is of the PDP. He is in the minority. Who is the highest APC elected senator and in the ranking? It is Senator Ahmad Lawan. What makes him the most ranking? First, he is the leader of the Senate as of today. Second, he is doing his 20th year in the National Assembly. He was elected into the House of Representatives in 1999 with me. He did House of Representatives 1999 to 2003. He did House of Representatives 2003 to 2007. On 2007, he was elected to the Senate. He was elected to the Senate again in 2011. He was elected to the Senate again in 2015. He has been re-elected to the Senate in 2019. So Ahmad Lawan is the highest ranking in terms of presence in the National Assembly, in terms of presence in the Senate, in terms of the office he holds as leader of the Senate. In the Senate and in the House of Representatives and in the legislature, it is after the Senate President is the Deputy President of the Senate. After the Deputy President of the Senate is the Senate leader. So two of them, the first and the second, are not of the minority, are not of the majority party. And so Ahmad Lawan stands ranking. It's not only a question of zoning. It's not zoning at this time. It is what is the political convention in choosing leadership. And so the party, the members themselves, have said that, look, in the United States, whoever is the highest ranking person, if the party wins election, you simply move, like Pelosi did when the Democrats won. She's the highest of the Democrats. So what the party has done now, and what the members of the party in the both legislatures have done, is to look at the convention in the legislature and agree to keep. Therefore, I'm expecting a less rancorous, and of course, right now, the members of the PDP, all members of the PDP, except about 30 to 35%, have queued all behind Lawan, because there is now, they don't have the strength, but they can fight whether they have the strength or not. No. I agree that any other person is free to put up himself to be elected, but the members have decided that the convention should be followed. But in doing that also, none of the person that is contesting or contending that I also want to be is being looked down upon. We are not talking hard on any of them. We respect them. We respect their right to contend and to contest. But we are saying, please, let there be the tradition that Nigeria be in the, Nigeria follow the appropriate tradition in the legislature. So we're not expecting a more rancorous thing. But going forward, I want to say that the legislature, please, we've come to a situation where the legislature is now almost losing the public applause. But again, I want to say that the legislature should never contest for popularity contest with the executive. It will never win. But when you begin as individual senators, to have individual senators and legislators, to have disapproval, to have a situation where members of the public are saying, should we have that number of people? What do they do? When they're also saying, look, should we have 2 chambers? Then that means that you have to go back to your core values. The National Assembly has not done 30% of the work that the Constitution and the different laws that are there in this country have set for them. Why not? They have not done 30%. No, because they have looked at frivolities and not looked at, I'm sorry, I apologize again. They have looked at things that ought not to be, and then left the things that they ought to do. A lot of, they have not done up to 25, saying that they have done 30. That is of what is in the law. If you look at every legislation in this country, or at least a great number of legislations, you say the legislature shall, the legislature shall, the legislature shall. But they do not go back to these laws to do each of these things that the legislature has said, the law has said they shall. Now, that is making the public people say that, oh, what do they actually do? Oh, there are too many. Oh, should we not have? So go back to your core values and have this thing. Finally, I want to commend the words of President Buhari, which always tells me and his aides, his appointees. He says, go, do the right thing. You will account to your God.
All right. Okay, and it is on that note we'll round off this discussion. As we always say, no one program can take care of all the issues. So we must leave this discussion here. Maybe just before the 9th Assembly is inaugurated, we might return to it and look at the expectations. But for now, I would like to say thank you very much to all our guests. I'd like to say thank you very much, Dr. Abiodun Adeni. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Awal Musa Rafsanjani. Thank you. And Senator Abubakar Sudengi, thank you for coming. It's been a while we haven't seen you.
Thank you, my old friend.
Thank you. And again, thank you so much, Senator Itai Nang, for always accepting requests. You know, thank you for being there every time we've asked you to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
And thank you to you two for being part of this program. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.